Hey everybody, today I'm talking about Agropolis, which is a 2021 release card game designed by Steven Aramini and published by Button Shy Games. This one accommodates 1 to 4 players and takes around 15 minutes to play. Now, if you're not familiar with Button Shy Games, they make these very compact little games here, which consist of only 18 cards. So these games are quite famous for doing quite a lot with very few components. Now, the game is going to look somewhat like this when it's finished, or at least coming towards the end. But it's going to start with a single card in the center of the table. Now, as you can see from these cards, not only are they divided into these 4 different sections made up of different landscapes, but they've got roads on them, you've got different kind of animal pens on them. But on the back of these cards, you've got different scoring objectives. And at the start of the game, 3 of these objectives are going to be dished out at random, and they're going to be the criteria that you're trying to fulfill by the end of the game. And the idea is that you're trying to exceed a score which is the combined value of all the different number on these cards. So for here, it'll be a score of 30. As you can see, the combined value of the numbers is 30. And there's lots of variation here because they've all got very different objectives. So in this particular example, I want to be trying to place pigs next to my biggest blue area, this swine country card here. I want happy cows. That means I want to have cows only near one road or no roads. And if they are near a road, then I'm going to suffer points. And I want my longest road is going to score for every bend in that road. So these there's lots of variation in these objectives, and a lot of the time they do conflict with one another. And it's all about trying to get the most out as you can out of each placement. So as I said, I've really advanced the game here. You are only going to be starting with a single card in the center, and you're always going to have a hand of 3 cards. If it's a multiplayer game, then everyone's always going to have a hand of 1, but the remaining cards are going to be passed from player to player. Now, not only are you trying to abide by these scoring restrictions here to try and beat this overall score, there are additional criteria that you can choose to add or take away from your final score, such as lining up the particular colours or the different landscapes. So, for example, my biggest connected region of each colour is going to score. So as you can see here, I've got 3 of these kind of pen tiles or pen areas, which are going to score me 3 points, and the blue one again is going to be 3, but as you can see, my biggest yellow area is only 2. On top of that, you are going to suffer negative points for every single road on the board. So you want to be ideally making just one big giant road, but of course, it's all about weighing up what is available to you and trying to get the most points out of each placement. That is pretty much the gist of the game, but I thought I'd just show you an example here about how some of these are going to be scored. So as I said, the pigs are going to be scoring 2 points per pen next to my biggest blue area, or these vineyards. So what I'll be doing is I'll be counting every pig area next to this area here. So again, this is going to be 2 points for this one. There's going to be 2 points for this one. But as you can see, this particular pen isn't next to my biggest blue area, so I'm going to be suffering negative 2 points for that one. And again, these ones here are also going to be suffering negative points because they're not next to my biggest blue area. And again, with the cows, this Happy Cows card, I'll be wanting to get my cows next to a single road or next to no roads at all. And I think I've pretty much generally failed that objective on most of these cards here. So, this one here is next to 2 roads, so it's going to suffer negative points. This one is only next to 1 road, so it's going to get me the plus points. And this final Tractor Tours card here is going to score me a point for every bend in my longest road. So as you can see here, it's got 1 bend, and then 2 bends, then 3 bends, then 4 bends. So it's going to get me a total of 4 points, and that's only going to apply to my longest road. So that's how simple the game is going to play. You're going to play until you run out of cards amongst all the players. And then you're going to tally up your score, and again, trying to beat that final objective there. And these do fluctuate. Some of them have very low scores on them, and some of them have very high scores on them, depending on how difficult that criteria is. So let's talk about how I feel about Agropolis. So first of all, I never cease to be amazed with how much game Button Shy Games managed to squeeze into such a small package. Just 18 cards, you've got a lot of game here, which is great. So mechanically, this game is ultra simple. You're just placing a card down, trying to achieve the different goals and hopefully beat that objective. But of course, with each placement, you've got a lot of things to consider here. Not only the objectives, but you're trying to expand your biggest regions. You're trying not to create as many roads or as few roads as possible so that you're not suffering negative points. And while it might think, at face value, you might think I'm just going to place a card and add it on, you've got so much more options than you think you might have, because you can actually cover up these in any way you see fit, as long as they're not diagonal to diagonal like this. And that just completely changes the game, or the scope of the game, depending on where you place these things. You can really change things up with a single placement. So the options are plentiful from start to finish in this game, and it really isn't a throwaway decision with each placement, because these cards are delicately balanced in terms of being achievable or not. Yes, the easier to achieve objectives have a higher point value that you need to achieve in the first place, so that's really well balanced, and I do like the way that feels. And also I think the difficulty is balanced well, because you only have actually a few turns and actually to get these things fulfilled, the smallest of mistakes can actually end up costing you and end up making you lose the game. So I think in terms of the balance and the clean mechanisms, I think this game does a fantastic job of that. Additionally, there is so much variability here in the cards. Of course, you're going to take 3 out at random at every game, which is again going to change the options which are actually available to you in the first place. But the scoring objectives are so different. You've got a ton here, or 18 of course, and they all do wildly different things. So in terms of from game to game, it's going to feel extremely different. And even if you are playing with the same objectives, you're going to come out with different cards each round, and that is going to really change the pacing of the game and what your options are. This is a cooperative game, so you'll probably find, with a lot of these games, you end up working together. You kind of can have some of that onus taken off of you by sharing it with the other players. But the rulebook does state that you are to keep your cards to yourself and not to discuss the cards in your hand until it's played. This game does scale extremely well. I mean, I think this is a great candidate for a solo game, a little puzzly thing to play by yourself. Normally I wouldn't play a solo game. It's not really my cup of tea. There are odd exceptions to that, but I think I would happily play a game like Agropolis on my own, because you are just so immersed. You've got your head down trying to sort out this puzzle and just trying to beat the objective. I think that's really well done, and the hook in terms of getting you to play this solo, I think, is really strong. In terms of the production, this game is only a few cards, but the cards are good quality. They're going to hold up to repeated plays. They've got quite a nice finish on them. All the different areas are nice and bright and vibrant, and someone who's colorblind like myself can clearly see what all these different segments are. So I really do like that, and it does end up having quite a nice kind of patchworky feel at the end of it. But this isn't a game that's about the aesthetics. You're not going to be bowled over by the way this game looks. It really is about that puzzle that you can sink your teeth into. In terms of the progression, yes, you are always placing new cards down, always getting bigger and bigger area here. You can try and keep it concise by keep overlapping your cards. But again, it is about which cards are going to conflict with each other throughout the game. And sometimes you might really do lump in on one of these objectives and let the other objective completely go out of the way. And sometimes it's achievable to win the game that way, but generally you want to take a balanced approach and try to achieve the objective that way. And in terms of the time investment, in terms of being a 15-minute game, I think it does a great job. There aren't too many games that have this much meat on the bones in this short time frame. So overall, I'm really happy with Agropolis. If you like games like Circle the Wagons, this is very much a sideward step to that kind of game. It's got a lot of similarities, but that's not a negative thing. I think this is a nice little niche in a niche, and the fact that it's cooperative as well differentiates itself from a game like Circle the Wagons. But if you like your puzzly games, you like to work together, you like to play quick, snappy games like this that you can get done in 15 or 20 minutes, then this is certainly one to check out. There's great replayability, and it's just a nice, satisfying little game. And again, if you like to play solo and you want a nice little thinky filler solo game, then Agropolis is probably one of the first games I'd go to under that criteria. So give this game a look if it does appeal to you. It's rock solid and extremely enjoyable. That is Agropolis by Steven Aramini, Danny Devine and Paul Klopka. If you have enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos too. For everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.